First up, though, let's talk to my first guest of this half hour, and that's Bob Seely, Conservative MP, also a member of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia. How are you doing?
Very well indeed. Thank you very much for joining. Well, I mean, I'm doing all right because I've still got a bank account so far, but I don't know. I share quite a lot of Nigel Farage's views on a lot of issues. Not Donald Trump. We definitely disagree on that. We had many a conversation on and off air about that, but certainly on Brexit, trans issues and net zero, we're very much aligned. And yet his bank account at Coutts has been closed. Neither he nor I have enough money to have a Coutts account, it turns out. But he was told originally by Coutts, originally, no given reason was given, and then the reason came via the BBC and sources claiming he didn't have enough money. Now, as a result of a subject access request, a sort of freedom of information request, he has managed to get hold of a 40-page dossier which shows that the bank has been discussing basically the reasons why they wanted to get rid of him as a customer, and his views don't align with their views. Let's play a little clip of what Nigel Farage had to say on his Twitter feed last night.
So let's be clear. The decision to get rid of me wasn't financial. It was done because somehow I don't fit with their values. They were bailed out by us. They have a duty to run at a profit as a commercial business. But no, they are to be the moral guardians of all. And that's because the march through the public and private corporate sectors of left-wing institutions who want to change the way the world is, organisations like Stonewall, has led us exactly to where we are.
Well, that's what he's had to say. Bob Seely, look, you've been a part of, the calls for economic sanctions on, cronies of Vladimir Putin, bank accounts being closed, yachts being seized and the like. But this is a man who's committed no crime of any sort, not been accused of a crime, apart from by a Labour MP, Chris Bryant, having his account closed. What do you make of this?
I think, Julia, it's insidious and creepy, and at very least I'd like an explanation from Coutts what they were doing, and if there's grounds for the government to go after them, I think we should. I think their behaviour is absolutely appalling. And look, I mean, like you, I agree with some of what Nigel says and I disagree with others. I loathe most of what Jeremy Corbyn stands for and believes in, but I don't want to cancel him. I don't want to bully him out of public life, and I certainly don't want his bank accounts cancelled. So provided somebody, is not inciting hatred, which Nigel doesn't do, as long as they are not engaging in, criminal activity, as long as they're basically members of the community with political opinions that are relatively mainstream, you can agree or disagree. I just think that what Coutts is doing and what NatWest is doing is really concerning.
Well, exactly. I mean, what do you think the government should do? The Treasury has expressed some serious concern about anyone being denied exercising their right to lawful free speech. Look, you can commit murder and still keep a bank account. Terrorist organisations have bank accounts in this country. So how on earth can a previously elected politician, and again, I don't care whether I agree with his views or don't agree with his views, like you would say, Jeremy Corbyn, I don't think anyone should lose their bank account unless there is particularly a criminal reason why they should do so.
To be honest, Julia, I don't know what powers the Bank of England have, and I don't know.
Should the Bank of England, should the government, Bank of England, whoever, Financial Conduct Authority, should they have the powers to basically say to any bank that does this, you no longer have a banking licence?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I've been thinking of. I think what would happen then is that you'd effectively force out the senior leadership of this bank. Do I think that would be sending a very useful message to other banks and to other major corporations that if they want to virtue signal in this feeble way, there'll be a price to pay? Yes, for sure. And maybe some of those people in corporate Britain and banking Britain, especially if they've been bailed out by the taxpayer, will look to start making a profit, think about employing people rather than virtue signaling in this feeble and frankly self-destructive way.
I mean, if we don't have any say when we own 39% of the bank, then who do we have a say over? Let me also ask you about inflation. Inflation rate down, still sky high at 7.9% in the last months, but down from 8.7%. A proper good step change down, and core inflation also coming down slightly as well. Again, that had gone up in previous months. This is good news, as is the announcement of this new Tata Gigafactory, Jaguar Land Rover, £4 billion worth of investment in return for us subsidising by around the tune of £500 million of taxpayers' money. Some good news for the government as we face the final PMQs of the Prime Minister facing off against Keir Starmer in the House of Commons later today. But we are still looking not really any closer to Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, fulfilling any of his 5 pledges that he said in January he wanted to be judged by at the next election. Do you have any chance of any of those pledges being met?
Yes, we do. And Rishi said those pledges are going to be met. I can't remember some of the dates, but he put specific dates on them, and we're still hopeful of making them all. When it comes to migration, we've got the illegal migration bill through. And I think many of your listeners and viewers are going to be relieved about that, because if you come to this country illegally, whatever your claims, you can be removed and sent back to where you came from or sent to a safe third country. So we are continuing to make really, really important progress on this. When it comes to inflation, inflation is coming down slightly faster than expected. It's been a bit sticky, but it's heading down significantly in the right direction. And Julia, as you say, we've got massively good news for the British car industry, for British manufacturing. And okay, we'll have to throw some subsidies Tata's way, fair enough. But we've got 9,000 jobs being created, and we've got a big car battery factory coming to the UK.
Why do we have to throw subsidies at multi-billion-pound companies, though?
I think probably because we're competing with other countries who will simply throw more at them. And there's lots of good things about our economy and our workforce, our highly skilled, incredible workforce in this country. But at the same time, we have to play that game to a certain extent.
OK, well, yeah, a lot of people are very angry about that. And you mentioned migration, of course. Stop the boats as one of Rishi Sunak's.
We don't live in a perfect world, and you're right. Companies shouldn't be being tempted by these sort of sweetheart deals, but if that's what we need to do sometimes to get game-changing industry here, then we need to be, we need to be battling.
We have to play the game. OK, well, again, one of the pledges was stop the boats. We seem to be stopping the boats in the wrong sort of way, because we've got a migrant barge that's arrived yesterday, the BBC Stockholm, to house 500 migrants in Dorset. That no one there wants it. No local people giving a say over that. And we've got Labour-run councils in Liverpool and Edinburgh who've stopped the arrival of 2 cruise ships, each to house 1,000 migrants and asylum seekers for them. Where should migrants go, asylum seekers go, while they're being assessed, given that we've got, up to 500 a day arriving? Where should they be living?
Well, at the moment, because of the numbers, pretty much anywhere probably we can house them is the blunt and unpleasant answer. But that's why we need to get moving on this. This is why we're trying to get our bills and our laws through the courts, through Parliament, so people who come here illegally, who are effectively economic migrants in most cases, can go back to the countries of origin, or they can go back to safe third countries. And we are battling through the blob of bureaucracy and the courts to make this happen. This will be happening, I hope, by the end of the year, but certainly by next year, because we need to be doing this. And I know, Julia, that you're saying lots of things about it. There's lots of good news. Inflation, as we say, coming down. We've got really good news for the British car industry. Strikes are being settled. We still have a high employment economy. We've got 40% more women in high-skilled jobs in 2010. So there is lots of.
There is some good news. I do accept there is some good news. But can I also ask you about the concern we've got yesterday? Only yesterday, we've got the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. She's warned that the terror threat is going to rise over the next 6 months. One of the reasons it's going to rise, it's coming from different directions. It's very unpredictable. But we've got basically a load of terrorists who were convicted of terrorism crimes, but we let them out early because we're an insane country. And basically, on average, one convicted terrorist is going to be released from prison every single week. We know that about half of terrorist attacks are committed by former prisoners. I mean, this country's not a serious country anymore, is it?
Well, look, we have a legal system, and we have to obey those laws. And if somebody is sent to prison for a specific amount of time, you can't start keeping people in prison indefinitely.
No, you could keep them in prison for the time they've been sent to prison for, instead of letting them out halfway through.
I don't know necessarily that people are being let out halfway through, but if people are well behaved and show signs of actually rescinding their previous ways, then we have to obey the laws as they are. If that means strengthening the laws, that is what Suella is trying to do. But in this case, I think Suella's, she's being honest and telling us what is.
OK, right. Well, look, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I do appreciate that. Thank you for your time. 9:16.